My name is Anna Jensen, and today me and my group will be discussing the effects of overfishing. Overfishing is an absolutely awful thing that our society has caused. And since we obviously cannot just go back in time and change the course of those actions, we have done our research in finding a solution. Today, we will be going over the history of fishing, what caused overfishing, the population decrease in fish, location in which the overfishing is very much taking place, the effect it does have on habitats, the effect it has on the food web, and even the effect it has on people. Lastly, we will discuss a solution to overfishing. We as a group feel that overfishing has done so much damage to our environment, and that is why it is an extremely important topic to do our project on. Right now we will be discussing the history of fishing. Fishing and the issues that come with it is not something new that just came out of nowhere. Fishing actually originally dates all the way back to the Paleolithic era. In this era, the tools for fishing were also things like hooks and nets, but they were typically made from bone or wood. From the 1700s to the 1800s, fishing started becoming a leisurely activity, for enjoyment. This was the beginning of overfishing. The Industrial Revolution brought in new advancement, fishing, technology, which changed the world of fishing. This included things such as a steam-powered fishing boat and new preservation methods of fish. Then post-World War II, in the 1950s and 60s, fishing went up rapidly with development of large-scale fishing fleets. Now we can see that they might be helpful, but within the last 60 years has caused great harm. Now I will discuss the cause of overfishing. Fishing has multiple contributions that have led us from sustainability to overconsumption, some in which being by catch, trailing, poor fishing management, poaching, and open access fisheries. Bycatch is when a fisherman catches something they aren't supposed to keep. This could be an illegal fish or a sea turtle getting caught in their net. Trailing is when a huge net is dragged by the seafloor and it catches anything that comes in its way. Then poaching is the illegal catching of fish. This could be fishing without a license or exceeding the limit of fish allowed. Then poor fishing management. Poor fishing management could be someone allowing others to poach for their own benefit. Then lastly, I would like to talk about open access fisheries. These are places where there is absolutely no limit on the amount of fish you can keep. It is found in fish stocks, 34% are overfished. And then fish catch, 21% is overfished. These things is what has caused the increase in fishing and has very much harmed the environment.
Hello, my name is Donovan, and I'll be discussing how overfishing affects fish populations as well as the most common areas that have been getting overfished around the world. The main side effect of overfishing is how it can cause major declines in fish populations. There are many causes as to why overfishing happens, one of which is how humans are needing more food. As our population grows, we're going to need more food, we're going to need higher food security. And in regions where seafood is the main cuisine and the main source of food for a lot of people, it will cause more fishing to be done, which in turn will cause overfishing to be more prevalent. Because of this, many fish species in the past have faced extinction. Another consequence of overfishing is how it disrupts marine ecosystems. An often overlooked side effect of commercial fishing practices is something called bycatch, in which there are unintended fish species being caught with the target species, and because of this, it can lead to a drop in biodiversity within these ecosystems. Another factor is something called indiscriminate harvesting, in which the top predators of an ecosystem are removed, mainly by the lack of prey being available. And because of this, it's another reason why there could be drops in biodiversity in these ecosystems, which causes their disruption. There are many fish species today that are endangered because of overfishing. Two of which I'm going to cover are some shark species and bluefin tuna specifically, and how unregulated fishing has greatly reduced these populations. In the case of the bluefin tuna, this is probably one of the more well-known cases of overfishing affecting a fish population than a fish species. In the regions around like the South China Sea and Japan, their cuisine is very much, influenced and centered around seafood, and tuna meat is used to make very high quality sushi. And because of this, it has led to the species being overfished. However, recent efforts have been able to steadily recover the population of the species. Another well-known case of a fish species being affected by overfishing is several shark species around China and Southeast Asia being harvested for their fins to make shark fin soup. This dish is a delicacy within these regions, but because of this, it has led to the rise of a lot of unethical fishing practices, such as not only overfishing, but these fish being caught and then having their fins cut off and thrown back into the water. So a lot of unethical practices have been on the rise because of this. Overfishing is common in places where there are either few regulations regarding commercial fishing or where fish is important for the food security of that region. And the places I'll be discussing are the Caribbean, the Western Pacific, and the South China Sea. In the South China Sea, the Chinese government has put policies in place to try and regulate fishing practices. However, it has not done a great job of fully enforcing these policies, which has led to overfishing still being prevalent in the region. And this can be attributed to political discourse causing inconsistencies in how the government handles overfishing and how it decides to regulate it. There are a lot of island countries located in and around the Caribbean Sea, which have their primary cuisine being seafood. So because of this, fish plays a large role in the food security of these regions, which in turn causes overfishing to be more prevalent in the Caribbean Sea. It has been found that around 50 kilograms of fish is consumed annually per person in these regions. The Western Pacific is the main culprit of the overfishing of various tuna and shark species. It has been found that about half of the world's tuna catch comes from this region alone, and in the early 2010s, over 3 million tons of fish have been caught in this region. However, recent conservation efforts have slowly restored these populations back to healthy numbers.
Hi there, my name is Leon Lowe, and I'll be discussing the socioeconomic effects of overfishing, as well as ways to possibly prevent it. As we know, overfishing causes very serious environmental damage all over the world, and it's a major issue. But what does that mean for people? So it means quite a bit. For people who live in coastal towns, they rely on healthy marine environments to sustain their economies, and that goes beyond just fish populations and things of that nature. It includes the destruction of natural beauty all around them. It decreases tourism and just very negatively affects these coastal towns. But what can we do about overfishing in terms of prevention? It's a difficult question because, as we know, fishing is a major industry. It produces about $276 billion every year. And so obviously a lot of people depend on it, and it's how a lot of people earn their livelihood. And so the solution is not as simple as just saying no more fishing. One of the negative effects of overfishing is that it is destroying coral reefs all over the world. This is a significant issue because obviously these coral reefs are important to the environment. They're breeding grounds for lots of fish, as well as their attractions. They bring in a lot of tourism and boost local economies surrounding them. And the reason overfishing is having such a major effect on these coral reefs, or at least one of the biggest reasons, is because of the decline in shark and ray populations. As we can see in the graph here on this slide from Nature News, all of these populations are steadily declining and moving down on the red list index, and that directly correlates to their risk levels, how in danger they basically are. And these declining populations are what's leading to the destruction of these coral reefs all over the world. The fishing industry is massive and it's all over the world. Right now, there's an estimated 58.5 million commercial fishermen in the world, and they're the ones bringing in that earlier number of $276.5 billion every year. This is extremely significant, and it's a huge part of the global economy. Outside of those commercial fishermen, there's over 200 million people that depend on the fishing industry as a whole to support themselves, to make a living, support their families, everything of that nature. And that's why overfishing has become such a problem. It's not as simple as just stopping fishing for these people. And that's why we need to be smart about how we address this issue. Overfishing has been a problem for a very, very long time. For years, people have wondered what we could possibly do to address an issue that's so deeply rooted in our society, culture, and economy. One suggestion comes from Professor Julie Cohen out of UC Santa Barbara. She talks about the Eventual Threat Index, which can be found in the National Academy of Sciences. The Eventual Threat Index, or ETI, can be used to predict overfishing issues up to decades before they actually occur. The ETI uses a set of equations that use real-world data and statistics to predict high harvest rates as well as population declines before they actually happen in real life. With this information and cooperation amongst fisheries, we would be able to adapt our practices to where we would not have to stop fishing, but rather work around what the data is showing us. This way we can alternate what fish are sought after, as well as the amounts that we're able to fish and allow these commercial fishermen to take in. On a smaller scale, what can we do as consumers and as regular people to address the global issue of overfishing? Well, what we can do is, firstly, we can avoid the big name fish that have been overfished, such as tuna, marlin, and any type of shark, really. You could make an effort to buy local from smaller fishermen that fish sustainably from your local populations and don't do any notable harm. And also, it's very easy nowadays to check whether the fish you're buying is sustainably caught, if the practices are environmentally friendly. There's lots of systems. You can see this on the packaging, or even beyond that, if you want to take some more initiative. There's apps like Seafood Watch that allow you to check the fish that you're about to buy to see if it's sustainable, if it's a fish that people should be consuming right now with the state that it's in.
Overfishing often has devastating impacts on marine habitats and food webs. It causes habitat destruction, disruption of food webs, impact on economic and food security, reduction in biodiversity, ecosystem service, and removal of top predators. Overfishing directly contributes to the physical destruction of marine habits. Destructive fishing practices such as bottom trawling, dredging, and use of heavy nets physically damage the seabed. Bottom trawling, for example, includes dragging heavy nets across the ocean floor, which can flatten complex structures such as coral reefs and uproot seagrass. These habitats are essential for many marine species, providing breeding grounds, shelter, and feeding areas. The loss of these habitats has a domino effect on the entire ecosystem. Coral reefs, often referred to as the rainforest of the sea, supports an incredible diverse range of species. The destruction of these reefs leads to a loss of biodiversity and disrupts the complex relationship that sustains marine life. Similarly, seagrass beds and mangrove forests, which serve as nurseries to fish species, are crucial for maintaining healthy fish populations. Their destruction reduces the available habitat for younger fish, further declining the habitat destruction. One of the most significant impacts of overfishing is the disruption of marine food webs. Predatory fish such as tuna, sharks, and cod are often primary targets of commercial fishing operations. These species occupy critical positions at the top of the food web, regulating the population of species below them. When these predators are removed, it creates an imbalance, often leading to a phenomenon known as trophic cascade. For instance, the depletion of large predatory fish can increase the population of smaller fish and invertebrates they typically consume. This in turn can result overgrazing on primary producers like algae and seagrasses. Such shifts can drastically alter the compositions and structures of the ecosystem, sometimes causing the collapse of specific habitats such as kelp forests and coral reefs. The impacts of overfishing extend beyond ecological consequences to economic and social dimensions. Many coastal communities rely on fishing for their livelihoods and food security. The decline in fish stocks due to overfishing can lead to reduced catches, economic losses, and increased poverty in this community. An example of this community is Galveston, Texas. Additionally, the collapse of fish population can affect related industries such as fish processing, transportation, and tourism, furthering economic hardships. Overfishing reduces the population sizes of many marine species, leading to a decrease in many diversity. The loss of biodiversity weakens the resilience of marine ecosystems, making them more susceptible to environmental changes and other stresses such as climate change. Biodiversity plays a crucial role in ecosystem stability. Diverse ecosystems are better able to withstand and recover from disturbances. Moreover, the removal of the keystone species, which have disproportionately large impact on their environment relative to their abundance, can lead to a significant change in the ecosystem structure and function. For example, overfishing of sea otters as a keystone species in kelp forest ecosystem has led to an increase in sea urchin populations, which in turn graze on kelp, leading to the degradation of kelp forests.